So we have an interesting interview here by Galata Plus of Siddharth Anand, the director of Pathaan, with Baradwaj Rangan, who's a big fan of commercial cinema. So I'm hoping it will be a good discussion. So let's hear it out. If you haven't seen the original video, I'll put the link in the description. You can check it out. Let's watch this.
Hi, Siddharth Anand. Welcome to Galata Plus.
I
And
love his t-shirt.
congratulations on
Or
the
shirt.
highest grossing net film made in Hindi.
Thank you.
Did I get that right?
Absolutely bang on.
Okay.
Thank you.
Is there a sense of vindication? Because throughout last year, one of the things that people kept asking was, is Bollywood gone? Is it because RRR was doing so well and KGF was doing so well, and before that Bahubali had done so well, and it's almost like, in comparison, Bollywood had come, the films coming from the Hindi film industry had come, even though they were putting up decent numbers, in comparison they seemed low. So is there a small sense of vindication that, chalo, you managed to do this?
Don't say small. I think it's huge. Our film started post the pandemic, right? Rather in the middle of the pandemic. So what I believe, what I feel, why films weren't doing well is because those films were made pre-pandemic. And then there was a period with...
You're talking about Hindi
Interesting.
Hindi films.
Right.
So there was a period where cinemas were shut and we couldn't release our films, people weren't coming back. So there was a prolonged break for our films. And those films were made pre-pandemic. There's a mindset that's changed post-pandemic. There's a viewing pattern that's changed. And those films were unfortunately a victim of that change. Even when I was making War, there was a sense of...
but I would say if they were good, they would have done well, right? They were not good. And it's good that bad films are not working.
Parallel cinema is the new commercial cinema in 2018-19, where you had small independent films with big ideas doing much better than tentpole films till War happened. At that point in time also I felt, oh my God, has the viewing pattern changed? But War again proved if you make a good cinematic experience film for our masses, and War and Pathaan in a way, which I think is my strength, I'd like to believe, is that I don't differentiate between the class and the mass audience. I try and cater to both subconsciously. It's not an effort. It's subconsciously. So I try and get all the quadrants to enjoy my films.
Right.
And if you do that, the results are War and Pathaan.
I want to really thank you for one thing, and that's for, with War and Pathaan, taking masala cinema seriously. Because I think for the longest time, like the Hindi film industry, at least did not...
He's the best person to talk about this stuff, man.
have too many directors that understood the... I don't know if I can call it a genre, but that flavor.
Yeah.
When you're talking, when I'm saying, the Manmohan Desai or Salim Javed or Subhash Ghai or whoever it is, they really knew, and their movies were classes, masses, your four quadrants, and they were very Indian films. It's like they were like desi, like the dialogues were wonderful. They had those little punches, all those kinds, not the big punchlines, but even the smaller punchlines, they spoke with a certain
punches.
flair and flavor, and you brought that back. It's like so I wanna talk a little more about this later, but I just have this one question now. When John Abraham is going to kill Shah Rukh Khan and he whistles "Ae mere watan ke logon," how did that come about? Because it is such an ironic touch. He's whistling the tune that is like almost like an anthem for a nation that has deserted him and that has made him the villain that he is, which I was talking to Sridhar Raghavan the other day and asking, did it come from Shakti? Because like subconsciously, the movies that we watch, because in Shakti also, Amitabh becomes the villain because his father...
How much he knows about the stuff he's talking, man. Love it.
Doesn't save him when needed. And the same thing happened, a very similar thing happens here.
I'm grateful that turned out the way we wanted it to, and it just turned... It's very easy for it to become spoofy. The man is whistling and walking and revealing himself. It's tricky, but you have to do it with so much conviction.
Right.
Ideally, we wanted to play the national anthem, but you can't whistle it. So that would be not right.
So is that like a no-no?
I would believe so. I would believe so, and I understand that also. So that's wrong. So we found this song, and it just was so apt. So it just worked out so well, and I was really excited about the sequence.
I guess that tune is also so apt because that's it. "Ae mere watan ke logon" is for the martyrs who died in war, and these are all people who are fighting for the country.
Yeah.
And that's kind of just became so apt there.
Yeah.
Something is off with the audio.
He is also a sort of a martyr. himself, and he died for the country. And his issue is that the country did nothing for him.
Right.
So his form of nationalism is a little skewed.
Yeah.
Which is what Pathan's character corrects him in the end.
Yeah.
So I think it's just very apt, and we're fortunate to have found a song like that and done it with so much conviction. And it just turned out great. I was very excited when this thought actually came about to use "Ae Mere Watan Ke Logo." And we were toying, should he sing it or should he whistle it? And we went with the whistle, and it's just so much swag to it.
And so much cooler. And I liked how you humanized John, because the thing is, even when he talks about, there's one moment where he talks about itne sare kafan, something like that, and then he says bas logon ke naam badalte rehte hain, or something like that. You know, it's like he's coming from a place of not like I'm a bad guy who wants to kill everything, but I'm a disappointed guy. And disillusioned guy. You know, and that was really nice too.
It's very important to have a villain who's relatable. In a way, in a strange way, Joker is also a very relatable villain, whether it's the way Joaquin Phoenix did it, or you had Heath Ledger doing it. So there's a certain relatability and angst in them.
I like that, when the director knows his stuff, hopefully he sticks to that. I think Rohit Shetty also talked about, why he said, I was not happy with myself Singham 2 because the villain was not good. The first movie had such a good villain, but we couldn't replicate that. And I think in Suryavanshi, he wanted, I think that's why he's setting up Jackie Shroff's character as a big villain for the crossover film, whatever. But let's see how that goes. But here, John was really good.
That you related with, you connected with them. And they're not just black. They're coming from a past that may not be so apparent, but you somehow connect with it. Everybody has those dark spaces in them. So if you connect with that dark space in the audience, they'll understand why the villain is doing it. So that you as a filmmaker enjoy the dichotomy what the audience is going through. Should I go with Pathaan or should I go with Jim? He's wronged. If something like this happened with me, would I become like Jim or would I stay like Pathaan? That dichotomy I enjoy with. And Batman always gives that kind of a choice to his characters. Or Joker gives that choice to Batman. The film Batman gives it to the viewer also. What would you do in that situation?
Now, given the mega success of Pathaan, now, is there a clear, and of War earlier, is there a clearer understanding of what the audience really wants to see on the big screen? Is it a kind of a Hollywoodish kind of presentation,
interesting question,
but with an Indian heart? Is that the key to making these movies?
I think War and Pathaan obviously had that, what you're saying, but I wouldn't say that's the template.
Okay.
If everybody starts emulating that, you would never have a Bahubali or a Baji Rao Mastani or a Padmavat also for that matter, or a Gangubai or a Drishyam. So there's no template as such. I would say. I would just say that give them a community viewing experience where even a Drishyam, for example, doesn't have those tropes of a big-scale entertainer and tentpole film. What it does is that it engages you in a community where you are collectively feeling fear for this man, and you are trying to. It's always important that your film is ahead of the audience. Whatever you're guessing is not what is transpiring. So you're giving a community that, oh, listen, I think this is what's going to happen, and it doesn't happen. There's joy in that, or if you discover, see, I told you that. There's certain community experience in that. You need to give that, whether they want to laugh together or they want to cry together. I believe a film that's coming out of Rani is also coming up. That also looks so exciting. I want to go to a theater and cry together.
Yeah.
I want to laugh in a Bhool Bhulaiya together. I want to cheer in a Pathaan together. So it's about community experiences and not trying to make a formula of a Hollywood-style action with songs.
When we're talking about the really top-tier heroes, do you think they can afford to escape what Martin Scorsese called the Marvelization of cinema? Because people expect them to do a certain kind of film, like with a certain kind of scale. I'm just talking about that.
The tentpole films.
The tentpole films.
But that's inevitable, I think.
Yeah.
I think Hollywood went through that.
Yeah.
We will also eventually go through that. This is just the nascent period of that. We will also be a victim of that because, the viewing experience has become expensive.
Right.
So you want the bang for your buck.
Right.
You will have to give them large-scale films where they want, whether it's ICE now, whether it is 4DX or there's IMAX 3D, there is no end to it. You will want to go for an experience. It's going to become akin to going to an amusement park or a theme park and give them that ride if you want to make these kind of films. And they need to get bigger. And fortunately, the success of Pathaan has showed that we are allowed to now spend a little bit more. and give them a little bit more. So that's very encouraging.
Do you think one mega success can bring an industry back?
I think it can give hope.
Okay.
We can still do that. We can try and reach 4 crores footfalls. So there's hope somewhere, I think.
Right.
Yeah.
When you talk about footfalls, that's a better judge.
4 crore footfalls. Basically, how many people came to theater to watch the film, not how many tickets, maybe how many tickets sold actually in a sense, but not the box office because it's multiple, whatever. Footfalls, 4 crore. What is the population? 130 crores. Like, not even, that's horrible. You know, just imagine if only 10-20% people of that 130 140 crore people watch films in theaters. We'll be making like our films will be hitting 3,000, 4,000, 5,000 crores within India, forget outside. That's the potential of Indian market, but we haven't tapped into it. We don't have enough theaters to support this, and it's just getting expensive. So everything is not coming together.
Of what a movie has done than the actual money, right? Because the money varies across places.
Money varies because obviously your average ticket price can vary, it can go up or down. You want to monitor how many people are coming to watch your film.
Right.
And that's not yet, it's not seeped in yet, but I think the future will be that we will count number of people that watched your film.
Right.
So I think that's a 3 crore is where you which is what you call a blockbuster.
Yeah.
So if you're going to go close to 3.3, 3.4, that means it's increasing. Or the fact that the audience never went anywhere. They were always there for you. Right. You just had to serve them the right dish.
Yeah. So I'm sitting in front of these posters that says 25th Jan. We're now in March.
Yeah.
And the film is still in theaters and you're still doing, like
crores every day.
Yeah. So it's like slightly
surreal.
It's surreal, right?
Like while I'm giving this interview, there's someone buying a ticket for Pathaan right now.
Yeah.
So that's beautiful. Yeah. That feeling is beautiful.
I mean, another narrative about Pathaan is that Shah Rukh is back.
Mm-hmm.
I have a personal theory that stars of that magnitude never really go away.
Yeah.
It's just a question of time or whatever it is. But one thing is, there's definitely one factor here that he was away from screen for a long time.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think that that giving audiences a chance to miss them is something that
Interesting
stars
question.
can do in the future to kind of make audiences anticipate their films a little more?
I wouldn't call it a reason because we know of a lot of other actors who took that break in the pandemic, albeit naturally.
Yeah.
But the films didn't open and didn't do well at all.
Sure. No, I'm not saying that's why Pathaan worked.
No, I'm coming to that. I'm coming to that. What has happened today is that with the advent of social media penetrating into every house, into everyone who's got a smartphone, you're seeing a lot of them anyway, and you're seeing them free of cost. And you're seeing, the idea is that you should not see them do what they do on screen free on your phone every day.
Right.
The novelty will go away. So what we need to do is actually cut the social media chatter more than anything else. Is try and just come to the screen. I don't think Tom Cruise does any advertisements also. Or doesn't do any endorsements also, if I'm not mistaken, is what I had read somewhere. So only way to see me is when you pay money. But you can come twice a year also, thrice a year also. That's not the issue. But just pay for me and come. Don't see me free doing things and appearances and doing dance videos on reels and stuff like that. So I will not enjoy that on screen. I should have paid when I can see you free.
Right.
So you retain the sanctity of being a star.
Right.
Star is someone who's unattainable, who's aspirational. If I keep seeing when I open my phone, your stardom somewhere is sense of diminished.
Like if I see you in your kitchen and if I see you in your whatever.
In your reality. So it's certain diminished. So there's a certain quality of I don't know my star. So I adore him.
Right.
So if I know everything, how he wakes up, this is his bedroom, oh, this is his bathroom, this is where he sleeps, this is his cupboard, these are his clothes. So it's an enigma, that mysterious quality is gone.
Yeah, and the mystique goes away.
The mystique goes away.
Is a big star necessary for a franchise? For example, all the franchise movies that have been made in India so far, whether you're talking about in the like the Tiger films at Salman, at least the beginning of War, and they're not yet franchises, but I'm hoping that they will be. Pathaan is you have to think you have Shah Rukh in Pathaan. So And down south you have Vijay in Lokesh Kanakaraj's films,
Yes.
which is called the LCU,
Right.
the Lokesh Cinematic Universe, because
Right.
they're also doing a lot of like crossovers
Okay.
between characters and things like that. But when you take Iron Man, Robert Downey Jr. was a character actor when he started that.
Yeah.
Before that, his best known films were Chaplin
Yeah.
and Zodiac.
Really.
Interesting.
He was not really a star.
Mainstream hero.
He was not really a mainstream hero.
You're right.
So Iron Man just transformed him
Yeah.
and made him this,
Yeah.
huge
Yeah.
star.
Yeah. Yeah.
But do you think that people would come to see that in India, or do they expect only the top level?
Herein lies the difference between Hollywood and our film industry.
Right.
We can't put up films,
This is interesting. I want to know the answer.
full films without a big star, because primarily our audience first comes in to see the star, and then the film that he is in. We have to accept that first.
Right.
But
Okay.
in Hollywood, you can end up making a Jurassic Park with a Sam Neill. You don't need a Tom Cruise or a Tom Hanks in Jurassic Park, which is directed by Steven Spielberg, because the hero of the film is the dinosaur, is a creature. You can make Jaws with a relatively unknown mainstream actor, because the creature is the hero, the shark, the environment is, the drama is. So what happens is, but we can't do that. For us, even to support a budget of a Jurassic Park, we will need Amir, Shah Rukh and Salman to come together to support that budget. So it is star-driven, our industry. So unfortunately, yes, for tentpole films, we will need that support, and that's
Interesting.
the naked truth.
So I'm really happy about the numbers and all that. But I have a kind of a flip side question to this, which is
Oops.
that apart from the initial flurry of reviews that talk about the film's pros, cons, वगैरह,
course.
about the film's content, after that initial, 1, 2, 3 day period, it becomes all about the numbers. And which is important to you, which is important to Yashraj, which is important to the industry.
Of course.
But now it's become like the day-by-day collection is being reported to the audiences, to the public. I mean,
Really?
when did this transition happen, and why is it important why are everybody so obsessed with numbers?
It's very strange. I mean, people actually, the common people who I meet, they talk about numbers. It's done so much, and I really didn't know that number. I'm saying, oh, today's become this much, because I'm shooting fighters. When they come and tell me your film did this much, I'm like, wow, yeah. It's social media, the reach, just see the penetration of it. So they want to know now. They want to know more about Bollywood. They want to know more about the films and the film stars and what the films are doing. They feel everyone is actually a critic now. Everyone, in WhatsApp groups of uncles, they have reviews of films. So everyone likes that kind of engagement. So it shows how big and important films are to our audiences.
That's interesting.
And what that is their only
How much involved they are into it.
outlet of entertainment. So they want to be more engaged with it. And numbers have become that, oh, I know how much this film has done. I mean, I was at an air base shooting 2 days back, and the officers' wives came and told me, oh, congratulations, the film has done 1,000 crores plus. Like, wow, yeah. So, and it's fun. I mean, it's great that, everybody is aware of it, but the downside is that when you're not doing well, they know that also, that your film has not done well and it's corrected only 40 crores.
Right.
For example.
You're saying that, yes, this is the primary source of entertainment, engagement, whatever it is. But people don't seem to be interested in knowing more about the art of cinema.
Yeah.
It's more about the commerce of cinema. That's what I'm a little...
If you're making a film and releasing it in the theaters, you're doing it for the business.
Okay.
So I think the good and bad is...
There is some art in it.
There is an art in it, but the line is drawn now, Baradwaj, where art films you won't be able to put out in the theaters. They won't cover the cost of
not
P&A.
art films, but there is art in your film. It's like we were just talking about.
But
the "Ye Mere Watan Ke Logo." There's some. They don't talk about that.
I have a point to that. What happened is that I think Pathaan also initially got so much love. What I loved was, hey man, I loved the film. Wow, what a film. That was when the numbers were still pouring in.
Right.
The fact that they loved the film, they didn't say, oh, listen, that sequence was good. Oh, I loved Jim's track and I loved his sense of nationalism and pride. Tonality, they loved the film. That means the art is appreciated. And a bad film cannot do numbers. So it's somewhere proportionate.
I want to talk about your sensibilities. You have identified yourself as a commercial filmmaker,
Yep.
and you talk a lot about the audience. Even when we look at your family, there's Inderaj Anand,
Yep.
who worked with Raj Kapoor right from the very beginning. That's a huge phase of cinema, and he was writing Ek Duje Ke Liye, Shahenshah, right till the 80s, like Shahenshah and all that.
Yeah, yeah.
In fact, Shahenshah is a bit of a family movie for you because it
everyone
was directed by
my uncle,
Anand,
produced by my father.
Yeah. So that was I'm sure you all
grew up on
like
that
a very memorable film for you.
Yes.
And then there's Mukulas Anand, who
Yes.
was one of the first people, along with like this bunch of 80s directors,
Yeah.
who brought a Hollywood sensibility to
Yes.
like
Indian
Indian
films.
movies, which is like trying to do an epic kind of
The scale they brought
the
in.
lenses became wider.
Lenses, yeah.
The
Yeah.
everything was looking a little larger than life.
Yep.
So has this mix kind of affected you in any way?
Actually, didn't know anything. Like, I didn't know he was like from a film family and all this background about him. Interesting.
Genetically must have. I can't pinpoint to it. But yeah, sense of all of them had a sense of commerce
Right.
in them, which I think I've imbibed, and I have to thank them for the genes. So somewhere to belief and the conviction in commercial cinema, and believing in the punchlines and the heroism and the drama and the music, and like you said, the lensing and the big scale, big screen experience is somewhere inherited, I guess.
So do you remember watching something like Khuda Gawar?
I mean, in awe, yeah, as a child, yeah. I mean, I remember seeing the trial of Hum, and I was just blown by it. And with the sheer audacity of commercial cinema, yeah. I mean, it's just something that, whether it's I saw some rushes of dust when it was being shot. There were some amazing chopper shots with trucks in Nevada and in West America. It just had he had a vision. And unfortunately, we couldn't see the end of that. But yeah, so that's inherited, I guess.
You've had a slightly schizophrenic career where you started writing Hum Tum and then you started making films with Salam Namaste.
Yeah.
Until Anjana Jani, we see one Siddharth Anand,
Yeah.
who's doing romantic comedies / romantic dramas.
Yeah.
Let's first stick there.
Okay, let's dissect that.
Like
Yeah.
when asked to do movies initially, you jumped into this zone because that was your sensibility.
I think it's the period. I think there was a period where only those kind of films were being made, slice of life films, and we had actors who were boys. So whether it's a Saif, you'd write for him a guy who is still trying to find his adulthood and who's a commitment phobic guy. So it was a lot of very boyish. I was also a young kid. And
Makes
those
sense.
were films actually that were running around us at that point and were prevalent.
I liked Hum Tum, but whatever I remember, I don't remember much. Salam Namaste, I didn't think did that well. I don't know. I maybe didn't like that. But Hum Tum was really fun. It was very interesting. I think people say it's like a remake of, not remake of, copied whatever of a Hollywood film.
And that became my sensibility at that point. And Hum Tum, I accidentally became a writer. Actually, it was a script by Kunal. It was Kunal's script, and I was an AD on that film.
Right.
And I happened to just give some suggestions on a couple of scenes. And very gracious of Kunal and Adi to give me the credit of a co-screenplay writer. It's very gracious of them. But it is Kunal's film, Hum Tum. And I was the associate director on that also. So I got a lot of hands-on experience on closely working on a film in which Adi realized that I could be a filmmaker. And then he thrusted upon me the responsibility to become a director and said, go and write a film. And I wrote down an idea that that came from experiences nearby, and so it became a slice of life kind of a film. And thereon, it just led to those kind of films with Saif that we had discussions. And I always wanted to push it a little bit. That is why my next film was sort of an action film in Tararampa. There was car racing. There was lots of car.
I really enjoyed Tararampa. I don't know it used to come on Sony channel, but whenever it used to come, I used to watch it. I really enjoyed that.
Crashes and a lot of action that way, and with car chases. So I probably had that streak in me initially as well. And but I was like a factory at that point in time, just finishing a film, writing another one, till a break came in after Anjana Anjani. There was a pause. When Anjana Anjani didn't do as well as it was expected to do, is when I started reassessing. And I realized that I may not have anything else to tell in that genre.
Okay.
I probably was exhausted of conflicts.
Just let me break here and just take you back to that a bit, but while you were in that genre, you were having a good time, as in it was coming
I
to
loved
you.
it.
Okay, right.
I loved it.
It was not like,
I loved it.
I'm being forced to do this.
No, I loved it. The stories came from me, came from within. But post Anjana Jani, there was a sense of exhaustion because I had done that. And I'm somebody who I have an attention disorder. So if I did that for 6 years, I think I was done with it. And that's when I realized that I don't have anything else to tell in this genre. I don't have a conflict between a boy and girl. I don't know what else can there be. Why won't they get together? What's stopping them? And that's when Night and Day came up. The remake of Night and Day came to me, and yeah, I think that film was just a catalyst to me actually finding my voice.
That film was really fun. The one he's talking about, the Bang Bang. Until the end, the last twist and all they do, I didn't like that much.
It was just the catalyst, and it was a film that came
But that twist did make it very Indian.
to me, which I got Sujoy and Suresh Nair to write it for me, and enjoyed that process of writing action. And
Okay.
I felt, oh, this is nice, yeah. So if we have an action sequence, what else can we do in it? So I started enjoying that like a boy. And we had fun making it with Hrithik. Then Hrithik and me struck a great rapport. And therein we started developing lots of ideas. In fact, in between War and Bang Bang, there were so many films I was making with Hrithik and without him in the action space. And eventually, I think I'm just a Destiny's child. That just every path has led me to this.
So basically, you're saying I make movies for a commercial audience. I also make romantic films. I also make.
I'm a
action
storyteller.
films. So you don't think yourself as being better at one or the other. It's like everything's the same.
I don't think I've tried everything yet, Baradwaj. I'm dying to make a courtroom film. Like Rainmaker is one of my
Interesting.
all-time favorite films.
I've not seen that one.
I have
I
seen
love
that
courtroom
film. I've
dramas.
seen the making of that film. I've read it. I've read the book. I mean, I'm a sucker. I'm a sucker for John Grisham novels. I, in fact, one day reached out to John Grisham to say, "Can you write a courtroom film for me?" This is about 8-9 years ago, and he says, "I write books. You can buy one of my books."
You actually reached out.
I reached out to John Grisham.
Right.
I'm a sucker for courtroom dramas. So I'm a storyteller. So you give me a story that engages me, I would tell it in its best form of my ability.
So was there any hesitation in the jump between this romantic phase of yours to Bang Bang, which was your first
Action film.
action film, like full-on action film? Were there any doubts? Was there any like, can I pull this off? Was there any bit of that?
It's very strange because I had that.
Okay.
The thing is that Bharadwaj, in my entire career till Bang Bang, run up to Bang Bang, I hadn't had a shot where someone gets slapped. I didn't know how to cover a slap.
Interesting.
Did someone actually slap somebody? How do you do it? How do you know how to just brush past the nose and react to it? And how do you cover it? I had no idea. I learned on
That's
the go.
very interesting.
And so those were my initial.
That happens, sometimes you don't know what to do, like how to really shoot this. You have an idea, this really, as a script says this, I want this, but how do I cover it so it looks good? Should I take multiple takes, like one take, like what?
Hiccups, and I didn't know what squibs were. I'd heard the word squib for the first time when I was on set. Oh, there are squibs under sand. So I'm like, what is that? So it's just on the go, and I realized, oh my God, I'm liking this. Yeah, I'm enjoying this process. So then I just deep dived into the genre and
Made it yours.
And yeah, made it mine. Yeah. Also, it was nascent. I don't think people were making action films when I did that. So even now, I think the only action film that I can think of are these films. On your fingertips. The action films that are made in Hindi. So it's still an unexplored genre.
One of the high points of whether it's War or Pathaan has been the action. And you've gotten people from abroad to do it. And in fact, with Pathaan, I think you had this person who choreographed one of the Mission Impossible films.
Yeah,
and
Casey
yeah.
O'Neill.
And something with Spielberg as well.
Casey O'Neill's worked a lot with Tom Cruise.
Lots of Tom Cruise, yeah.
Cruise.
So, why is it that, and of course, there are exceptions. For example, Rajamouli's films, have great action and they're by Indian choreographers.
Yep.
But in general, why are action choreographers in India unable to come up with massive set pieces? Is it because of the budget? Is it because they're trained to do dishum and they can't think beyond that? They only do the wire stunts kind of thing? What is it?
I wouldn't say so. I think it's a lot to do with experience because, like I said, action films are really unexplored here, Baradwaj. And I mean it. If you go look back at it and tell me which are the action films that are made in India in the last 20 years. I love it. So that action they specialize in. Hollywood can't do that. So if you want this
What
kind
did
of
he say? Wait, what did he say?
in the last 20 years.
Hukumat.
Hukumat.
I love it. So that action they specialize in. Hollywood can't do that.
Okay, I need to look
So
up
if you want
Hukumat.
this kind of action like War and Pathan and Bang Bang, we don't have technicians who probably have the rigs to do it for safety or the ability to shoot it.
Right.
Covering action also is an art.
Yeah.
I can have an action sequence in this room, but how do you cover it intricately and effectively?
Right.
That is something that we have not yet
Okay.
learned. We are at a
Makes
nascent
sense,
stage.
right?
Maybe 10 years down the line, we won't need anyone from Hollywood.
Right.
We would have learned it. We would have learned to make the rigs and get the safety absolutely bang on for the actors. So we need to bring them in with their technique, with their rigs, with their harnesses. And we learn and we keep them back. That's what we've done, and all my action directors have done that. They've bought off the rigs from those people who came and brought them here for our films. So we are getting there. And this is just the transition process, is what I call it.
Right. But the imagination of that action, that was all yours.
No, so that is collaborative. That is something that
The action.
with everybody, with Adi, with my team, with my ADs, we all collaborate. We bounce. Okay, this is the thing. He has to run from here, from point A to point B, for example. Whether it is his bike chase that you're seeing that is in Siberia. Okay, it's a lab, and he has to get away, and he has to lose one orb and has to retrieve one. How do you do it? You can do anything.
Right.
So it's even the saving the scientist in Dubai. Where is he doing it? Let's do it in Dubai. Where do we do it in Dubai? Dubai, which is the most gorgeous looking location, the Burj Khalifa. So let's do it on the boulevard, but it's impossible. No, let's make it happen. That gives the scale. Okay, let's do it with above Hummers and with 2 choppers and tying them up with a tether. So these are imaginative ideas to scale it up to give that experience.
Right. Right.
So it's all collaborative. Somebody can come up with any idea, and no, you can't do it alone.
In the romantic phase of yours, do you have a favorite film?
Of my own film, I think Salam Namaste is.
Okay.
I think that's a really fun film. Yeah. When I look back at it, it's so real, it's so tangible in its emotion, in its in its conflict, and its reaction. It's like my best moment with Saif is that when she doesn't do the abortion, and he says, "What the fuck do we do?" He says, "Oh fuck it, let's get married." So it's like she says, "You want to get married to me because you love me or because of the kid?" He says, "Yeah, because you have a kid. We have to get married." She says, "No, I will not get married to you because you want to get married for the wrong reasons." It's so real. Yeah. Because Saif, that boy, would say that, "If you have the baby, let's get married." And it's so relevant even today. So I love those moments that we created in Salam Namaste.
Actually, I'm remembering this moment where he drinks milk in the bathroom.
Yeah, on the pot.
On the pot.
That's Saif. So it's all very real, yeah. And it's something that's so tangible. I just love that film for that reason, yeah. And it's Saif that who wakes up in the morning and says, "I'm in the car." He says, "I called you on the landline." So those things, and Saif is like that. So it's from experiences.
Let's talk about, like, you talked about how you got into Bang Bang. Now let's talk about War. And at that point, when War was happening, it was not meant to be part of a franchise or whatever.
No.
Right. So it was just supposed to be a standalone action film.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
But at what point did that franchise talk begin?
So obviously, when we were making War, we had no idea of that. It's after War completed is when we realized that, okay, if this film works, we'll have another agent. And you already have an agent in Tiger. Why don't we create more such opportunities and then we can make a universe? I think it's natural transition. So that came about after we saw the film, after we saw War.
Right. But while making it, there was no plan.
No, there was no discussion.
Right.
We were just trying to save our own film. Let's make a film that works.
Both your recent films, that's War and Pathaan, and strangely one pre-pandemic hit and one post-pandemic hit. I really love this interaction between you and your writer Sridhar Raghavan and your dialogue writer
Abbas
Tyrewala, because you guys really get, once again I'm saying this masala, that flavor. You know, it's like, ab shaitan se dosti karni padegi. That kind of,
language.
That language, but not using it like a wink way. Using it with dead serious earnestness.
Yeah.
You know, like, because of the word that you used, I think, was conviction.
Yeah.
Because you're saying, I know this line it's a little over the top,
Yeah.
but I'm going to play it seriously because that's the nature of the genre, or like that's the nature of this kind of film.
Yeah.
So, like I said, there are echoes of all these earlier films, like from Manmohan Desai, Salim Javed. Like we talked about Shakti.
Yeah.
When I say Manmohan Desai, I mean this classic touch of Shah Rukh not having religion. Like he's Amar, he's Akbar, and he's Anthony. So he's like everything, because he doesn't have. His religion is probably that of cinema.
Absolutely.
He's like, he's born in that.
He's found in a theater.
How did you guys jam? I mean, like, I'm really curious about this because it's like, yes, you have the whole it starts here, there's this agent, this happens, it happens. But I'm talking about sculpting these micro moments, it's like, how does that flavor, how does it, because in today's age, like again, I said, there are very few filmmakers who kind of have that A, interest on, and B, the ability to get into that zone. Let's talk about that a bit.
It's also the synergy that Abbas Sridhar,
He's really passionate, man, BR, about this. That makes me passionate.
Adi and me, it's four of us, it's not just three of us. Adi's a huge factor in both these films. So it's four of us having the same belief system, Bharadwaj, and the same films that we have adored, grown up on, and believed in, and the cinema that we believe in. We share that. We share the same sentiment. So the fact that if he doesn't have a name and that he's found in a theater that actually was called Navrang, which got edited out, which you might see it in the OTT version. The thing is that none of us looks down upon it.
Right.
No one says, no, that's cheesy. We all come in with, oh yeah, that's a great idea. Oh, and then he became Pathaan because of this reason, and now he has no religion. It's only his country that matters to him.
Yeah.
So it's a synergy of like-minded people who give confidence to each other that, listen, what you're doing is right. So we give that faith, something sometimes I may not believe in, where Abbas convinces me that go ahead with it, do it. Abbas taught me one thing, is that which I should question him at some point in War. He also wrote Bang Bang with me. He wrote Salam Namaste. So Abbas and me go a long way. He told me if your drama holds, people will not look for logic.
Right.
So there's some learnings everywhere. So there's a symbiosis of minds that we thrive on.
Right.
And we come up with elements that actually are part of us and the audience together. Right. And we are unashamed about it.
Right.
So we can do it with conviction and believe it. We believe it and we do it with conviction, you will buy into it.
Right.
That's something that we are not going to lose touch with. Right. So you have to just first believe in it yourself and not say, okay, let me try it. Yeah. So now what happens is people watching Pathaan say, let me also try it. It's a little shaky. So you will not know if that moment has worked or everything leading to that moment has allowed that moment to happen.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a good
getting
point.
me? Yeah. So it's not in isolation.
Yeah.
So it's
Makes
the
sense.
gene and the DNA of the film that allows it.
Yeah.
So that is something you need.
That's what you say, right? In a film tells you what it's like, first 5-10 minutes tells you what kind of film you're watching. And you have to watch it through that lens. And if the film is consistent, you will enjoy that lens, through that lens. But if you don't watch it, if you watch Pathaan and find scientific, logics and this and that and authenticity and all of those things, then you're not watching from the light lens.
Symbiosis of energies in the film, and through the film that needs to be consistent. It can't just pop up once and say, oh yeah, let me do this, it'll become a claptrap. No, it needs to run in the DNA.
Right.
So it's like the first line when that guy says that kisi khubsurat khatun ka Instagram nahi hai ye, cancer hai. So you know the tone of the film is set from there. Yeah. And that is the Pakistani general saying that. So you're in, okay. So you set these things so that party Pathaan ke ghar pe rahoge to mehman nawazi ke liye Pathaan to aayega aur patake bhi laayega. That's in the end. So there's a synergy in the beginning and end of the film of lines.
Right. That's what the whole thing is organic.
Yes,
it's
and
just
consistent.
And consistent. Yeah.
That's important.
Like I interviewed Hrithik last year, and I was talking to him about that scene where in War, where he has that.
Yep, I saw that.
That look with Sony Raja.
Yeah, and just a nod.
Just a nod, and it's like.
It says so much.
There's a whole history there because then you know what happened.
Yeah.
With the thing, and he turns out to be a kind of father figure for the father that he's killed.
Yeah.
For the kid.
Yeah.
So I mean, these are just these are just amazing touches in what could have just been a bang bang movie, like a general action movie.
But then there's a tone we've chosen for War. And Bang Bang is a tone I've chosen to be an action comedy and a little frivolous in the sense to just come and have fun.
Yeah.
I've chosen that for Bang Bang, and I've realized that somewhere in India is still people are trying to grasp that rush hour kind of a film, and in that you still need to have a villain that's believable. Everything else will fall into place. That's my learning from Bang Bang. The villain also shouldn't be like that, who's not tangible.
Right.
In that film, everything else would have worked.
Right.
Like True Lies, for example. True Lies worked with the villain was in the tone of the film, but believable.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So everything else worked in its landscape.
Now, we talked about the action choreographer Casey O'Neill,
Yeah.
and he said something very interesting about Shah Rukh. He said he unlearned and then learned how to do stunts. How does one unlearn how to do stunts? I'm not sure if you know what he meant, but I'm just asking.
I'll try and second guess it because I think it probably had been a long time since Shah Rukh did those kind of action films,
Right.
and there was a certain technique that the Indian action directors had taught him for reacting and hitting or jumping or rising. Is what Casey
Interesting.
said, let's do it in a different style.
Right.
Maybe that's what he meant, and I think Casey also probably must be repeating what Shah Rukh must have told him, that I had to unlearn, oh, this is the right way, or this is the relevant way to do it. So let me unlearn that. And Shah Rukh is a great learner and a very avid learner.
Right.
He wants to learn. He wants to listen. He's a great listener and a speaker and orator, everything. So yeah. So he probably
We are interviewing Shah Rukh Khan, man. That'd be dream.
meant that is what I would try to.
How's life at the summit right now? I mean, is it scary? I know you're happy at some at some level, but is it also like this? Oh my God,
Why would it be scary? It's not. It's amazing.
it's amazing.
It's amazing that the
It's not
fact
scary
that,
at all. It's like, oh my God, what if this doesn't last? That's not there at all.
I mean, it doesn't last is something that this wasn't in my control and that also is not in my control. So why spoil the moment?
Destiny's Child, you say.
I'm Destiny's child. I would say that again. I've always said it, and I think God's brought me here and He'll handhold me through it. Yeah, I think, and I haven't changed in my filmmaking actually. The way I'm actually even my style of conducting myself and my film and the way I'm doing it in Fighter is probably the same as it was in Salam Namaste.
Right.
I haven't changed that. That has not changed, and I'm still fearful of each day of shoot.
Okay.
And
Now I'm more excited for Fighter.
still uncertain if something will work. It's not that okay, now I know how to make action films. Just leave it to me, guys. Please, I know what I'm doing. That's not me. That's never been me. I'm like people are telling me, oh, you're a master of this genre. I say no, I'm a student of this genre. So I'm still learning. I'm still taking suggestions from everybody around me and taking baby steps. Even in Fighter, although Fighter is a film that is really incredulous, is what I would call it. So I'm a student there. I'm also still learning. I'm a little nervous. So that's keeping me on the edge and keeping me in check.
What kind of film is Fighter? Is it also in this genre, or is it like a pure action film? Or
You know, the thing in like talking about conviction, so it's too early, but I'll just put it in perspective. Fighter is an action film, but it's set in the Indian Air Force. It's a very authentic Air Force film. It's collaborative
Interesting.
with the Indian Air Force. And so I have to be very, very correct and authentic in everything, in the way they conduct themselves, in the way they speak. So
Okay.
within that film, in that action film, I have 5 songs.
wow.
I have 5 songs in Fighter. Apart from that, the point that I'm coming to is, I have something which no action film in India has, which is a sad song. I have a sad song, a complete full song in the film, which is a sad song. And I was pointing it out to my team 2 days back, and Ritik, that do you realize that? And they all went, oh shit, yeah, wow. Oh yeah, action films don't have that. I said, that is what I think what we're doing is we're doing it with conviction. You didn't realize it, but you gave the shot.
Right.
With full conviction, but you realize the landscape of the film is an action film. And we have a sad song because you have to do it like that line. What line you're saying, what dialogues you're saying. You have to do it with conviction. Whether it's a whistle of "Ae Mere Watan Ke Logo" and a helmet coming off, a guy wearing a helmet in the middle of Dubai with a bazooka and opening it, whistling "Ae Mere Watan Ke Logo." You all have not pointed out to that, but rather enjoyed it and clapped at it.
Yeah, yeah.
So that's an extension. The sad song in Fighter is an extension because you'll not realize it. You'll feel for the characters when it comes in.
Was there given that you go to so many locations and you have Shah Rukh and Deepika and all that, was there a temptation to have maybe 1 or 2 more songs in?
Always, I had a temptation of having a Tiger Shroff song in a war. That why doesn't Tiger Shroff introduce himself in the film in a song? Why is he coming in?
That's a great introduction with that
Exactly.
single shot.
Exactly.
Yeah, yeah.
So you have these temptations all the time, but then you have to go back to what excited you about the film and the script. Don't mess with that. What happened was that by the time we started shooting a war, Tiger became a big star.
Right.
He had just delivered a massive blockbuster. And he was a huge star, a dancing star, action star. So he said, yeah, let's have a song. So we always had that discussion, let's do it. But then we went back to the script and said, this script is sacrosanct. Don't mess with it, even if it take 2 years to make it and trends change. Don't try and retrofit things into that film, into the script.
Right.
Stay true to it.
That's great.
That's what we did, and that's what happened in Pathaan also. There was
That's a good practice. Everyone should follow.
no space for any song.
Your DP says good films make your life better.
Oh,
Where's the picture from?
oh, where is that picture from? I forgot about it. You know, in your DP, you don't see your own DP, so you don't realize it.
Right.
It's time to change.
What is a good film for you?
What is a good film? A good film for me is a film that you're not tired at the end of it after watching it. You feel you still are fresh enough because you've got engaged, you either cried, and you felt full. You felt full because when you go into a theater, lights dim out. Means you've been brought into another world. You transcended into it, come out of it still with the same energy.
Right.
And if you're like coming out like this, it's not worked. So you want to come out the way you went in.
Right.
That's a good film.
So can you give me, just like a wrap-up question, can you give me some of what you would consider good films?
What my good films are? Oh, tricky. Tricky from here or
Basically, wherever.
what's a good film?
What are some of your good films? Like your go-to good films?
Like for example, a Nayakan is a great film.
Okay.
Nayakan is something which, from the performances and its music, I consider that a great film. I love Subhash Ghai films. I consider Meri Jang a good film.
Right.
I consider Ram Lakhan a good
Oh my
film.
God, I still remember that scene where Anil Kapoor drinks poison.
Oh, his introduction scene.
Yeah, it's like it's actually
Look at the conviction of this. The conviction of the filmmaker.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, it's varied. Yeah, it's varied. Varies for me from time to time.
right. And actually, speaking of masala and conviction, you mentioned Subhash Ghai, and I'm thinking about Karma, where Dilip Kumar actually draws the map of India with bullets from a machine gun around
Anupam Kher, Dr.
Anupam Kher, Dr. Dan.
Incredible. And do you remember the kind of acclaim and claps he got in the theater?
The whole theater just erupted, like the map of India
Yeah.
in bullets
Can you
around
imagine?
the villain.
I just love it. I'm getting goosebumps thinking of it. I'm that filmmaker. I'm that audience. Yeah. I love it. I love this cinema.
Yeah, so
This is great cinema
yeah, so
for me.
yeah, thank you, Siddharth. It was a real pleasure talking to you. And
Thank you, Baradwaj, for having me.
Yeah.
Thank you.
That was fun, some are just right people to talk to the right person, Both love commercial cinema, masala cinema, and they have so much to talk about and just geeking out about, certain scenes from old films they love and enjoy. That says it all, That's what you want in a interview, and that's like the best thing you can get from an interview. And even in films, conviction. Like if you're showing something on screen, you should like it, you should believe it, you should be someone, if I see this on screen, I'll love it. And then some films you see, like, they only don't like this, they're just trying to do something, and if it works out, doesn't, they don't care. That's the difference when you can tell in watching a good film and not so good film. And that actually shows. Pathaan, you may have issues with it, a lot of this, but at the end of the day, who made it, they enjoyed making it. That's what they enjoy, and that's what they want to show, and people who want that, they enjoyed it, and that's why the film is doing so well. And again, a great interview, really liked it. But what do you think? Let me know in the comments below. Until then, you can check out this video next. If you like this video, share it, and I'll see you next time.